This is game time, everybody. The time for us to come together in unity and realize that we are all reflections of each other. We're all interconnected.
You have worth that goes beyond what you do as a human on this planet. On Portal to Ascension, I've dealt with thousands of topics, thousands of speakers. It's called Portal to Ascension because it's an umbrella for all types of information that we really want to delve into. The bottom line is remembering who you truly are.
Yep, that's what we specialize in, helping you remember who you truly are and tools to how to step up and remember and ascend and raise your vibrational frequency. One of the things we're going to talk about today is energy healing and how energy healing can literally shift your vibration, uplift your energy, and align you body, mind, and spirit. So we're really happy. We're going to bring our guest on in just a minute. But meanwhile, let me introduce myself. I am Joan of Angels. I'm actually an intuitive guide who helps you remember who you are. And I'm also director of productions for Portal to Ascension. So I want to show you a few things about some upcoming events that we're going to be doing. So you have an idea. I'm so excited. First thing is I'm going to show you some of our upcoming webinars. So coming up actually very soon is going to be Sarian Michael White, Arcturians and Earth Ancient Guardians. And as we stream down, we have Geraldine Orozco on DNA activations and interdimensional activations. And I heard her the other night. She's so powerful. And again, Marina Serin, the Vril and the Secret Space program is coming up. And we have Kiera Windrider. But I also want to show you our upcoming, I'm going to stop the screen share for a second, and then I'm going to reshare our up and coming in-person San Diego a Portal to Ascension conference, which is going to be held at the marina down there. So it's sort of like an indoor-outdoor facility. And we're going to have a lot of your favorite speakers. And the thing is, Neil and I are very excited because, we haven't really been able to do an in-person event. This is going to be April 21st to 23rd. And I'm telling you now, because we're really getting excited. We want all of you guys to know about it and to come, sign up. We have, what they call an advance sale for you. So you can get a great discount on it. But it's a chance to be with your soul family and to be with those speakers that you love and adore as well. So we uncover your true world timeline. We're going to talk about ET existence, UFO disclosure, tools for healing. We have Arcturians present. We have all of our ET friends. We're being sponsored by Sheila Seppi at Wish Alliance, now the Galactic Alliance, and also Jenna Layden. We have one other sponsor, but we're very excited. We're still looking for vendors, by the way. And if you are interested in being a vendor, let us know. All right. So, and register now. I'd be really happy if you see this and you register. We want to see you there. Perfect. So I'm going to put that right up here. 2-day summit. That's not the right one, but this is an upcoming event as well. You can check it out. Ascension of the Soul that we're doing with our friend from Soul Search, Tangela. So, okay, good. So meanwhile, guys, let us know where you're from and share this out on YouTube and Facebook for all to see. All right, sweet. So, guys, I'm an intuitive guide. I work with Neil, Portal to Ascension. Check me out at joanofangels.com. All right, now our guest today, I'm really excited to introduce her because she's talking about my favorite topic, soul medicine. And I'm a chiropractor by trade, by how I came into this ascension work. And so anything that has to do with healing, or healing your body, mind, and spirit, healing your soul, anything that uses those words, wellness, I get really excited about. So Meredith Rubin Daniels is a certified generational emotional mapping ancestral healer. She's a psychic medium, a Reiki master, and a doTERRA wellness advocate. Ever since she was a child, Meredith has felt called to help people. Her spiritual journey was prompted by the passing of her father, which led her to find the world of spirituality and energy healing. Her road was anything but straight, but she was thrilled to have found her true calling to help people connect to their loved ones and heal not only themselves, but their entire family lineage. She is a firm believer that one person's healing, like when one person is healed, it will help to heal the entire world. So we are going to be very happy to present her in just a second. Before I present her, I have two things I want to request. Number one, put where you're from in the comments so that we can create like what we really like to do, that soul tribe energy. And number two, take a deep breath, okay? And then let it out. And this time when you take a deep breath, put your hands on your heart and just breathe into your heart. And Mother, Father, God, we're just so grateful that we can be together in the sacred space to share wisdom from masters such as Meredith and information such as Neil and Portal to Ascension and myself. Breathe out. And so it is. May this information land for your highest good. And so it is. And here is our guest. Hello, Meredith.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I am so grateful to be here.
I am. So I'm really excited. I kept seeing our emails back and forth, and I thought this is going to be amazing. This is a soul generational healer, ancestral healer. And I actually couldn't wait to see you. And so I really have to thank you.
Oh, well, I am so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So guys, let us know where you're from. And we're so happy to see you, and feel free to ask Meredith any questions as we go along. So Meredith, I guess let's just start. You said ever since you were a child, you've wanted to help people. How did this all begin for you then, that you became aware of your healing gifts?
So I was actually talking about this with my kids this morning. When I was little, my mom always teased me and called me the Ann Landers of the playground, because whenever kids on the playground were having a disagreement, I would go over and try and help them work through it. But the spiritual piece didn't really play into it until my dad passed away when I was 21. It was very unexpected, very sudden, and I was not at a place in my life where I was ready to just not have a relationship with my dad. I was still in college and just still had that feeling of I need my parents, which I don't know if that feeling ever goes away, no matter how old you are. But up until that point, I had a surface level belief in heaven. My grandma would talk about how my great grandmother would come and visit her, and, oh, she pushed a box off the shelf onto my head. And I was like, okay, great. I didn't not believe it, but I never put too much thought into like what was actually happening. And so when my dad passed away, I was like, okay, I need to figure out how I can still connect with him. And he's a strong presence. He started sending signs almost immediately, like within a day or two of his passing. And I was 99.9% sure that it was really him and, all of that. But that one little part of me was like, is that just wishful thinking? Do I just want it to be him? And so I'm just going to believe it's him to make me feel better? Or is there something really to this? And so I started kind of diving deeper into it. And I was like, I want somebody like a doctor, a scientific doctor, not a religious person, not a spiritual woo-woo person, but I want like hardcore scientific evidence that there is life after death. And this is really my dad, which obviously is a tall order to fill. But I ended up finding a book called Evidence of the Afterlife, The Science of Near-Death Experiences by Dr. Jeffrey Long, where he interviewed hundreds, if not thousands of people who had flatlined, like they were clinically dead, and then they came back and they all reported on their experiences. And it was people from all over the world, different backgrounds, different ages, different religious beliefs, all the things. And they all had such similar experiences that I was like, okay, I'm sold. This is it. I truly believe that, death isn't the end.
Right.
And so from there, I continued my relationship with my dad and talking to him and him sending me signs and, all the things. And I started to get into more spiritual things. I would go to retreats or see healers or, have readings with people. And in the meantime, I, became a mom, and I started down this whole like natural wellness path, and got really into essential oils. And during that time, I discovered that I'm a medium. I didn't always know that. And so that came out. I went with my mom to put her dog to sleep. And all of a sudden, like, as soon as the dog passed, this little like thought bubble popped up. And I saw the dog and I heard the dog as a puppy. And like, I was like, that's new. Like, where did that come from?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But I didn't know how to like recreate that experience or, what it meant. And so about a year later, I went to see, there was a guy who did a workshop on, opening up your mediumship. And I was like, well, I'm just going to go and see what happens. And by the end of the night, I'm telling the stranger next to me about his grandmother. And I was like, what is happening right now? This is so crazy.
Wow. So that's how your gifts really opened up to doing this kind of work.
Yes. Yeah.
So I know you're kind of sharing the story and we're going to get back to it, but I have something that you've already triggered in me really intensely. My father died when I was 23. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew nothing about any of this, but my sister and I came home and there were about 1,000 butterflies outside the side of our house.
Oh my God.
And I was really traditional. None of this would have really been in my consciousness. All these butterflies are outside. I'm 23 years old. And my sister and I look at each other. It's like, well, we've never seen even one butterfly, let alone 1,000. And she goes, do you think it's Dad? I go, do you think it's Dad? And all my life, I was convinced it was Dad. And the weirdest thing completely skipped my memory, but that after he died, shortly after, I actually moved to New York and I moved from New York to LA into a spiritual community. I never heard from my dad again, except one dream once. But so I'm listening to you going, wow, had I only just like dived into what does this really mean and trust that, I probably would have had a lot of communication with him. But your story is really fascinating. So you go now and you find out you're a medium. And people from the other side, and I think I've always wished I was a medium like that. People from the other side are contacting you. What's that like for you? Like, what do you decide to do then?
So I started like practicing on friends. And I will say before this happened, I, saw several mediums, and I always thought like, man, that would be really cool to be a medium. I wish I could do that, but like, I don't know how they do it and whatever. And, I think it was just my subconscious being like, this is coming, because as I was exploring all of this spirituality stuff, I had this pull of like, I need to be doing this. Like, I should be more involved in this world and doing things. But I was like, I don't have these gifts like these healers do. I'm not a psychic. I'm not a medium. I'm not a Reiki master. I'm not, whatever. Yeah. And so I had no idea how I would fit into that world, beyond just like enjoying going to a reading or, learning about it that way. So, but at the time, my background, my degree is in teaching, and I spent 9 years in the classroom, and I adored my kids. Like, they were my babies. But something like the universe kept telling me, like, you're not supposed to be doing this. You're not supposed to be doing this. And I was so frustrated because my entire life I was like, wanted to be a teacher. And so there was no plan B. And I was like, okay, universe, like, I get it. I'm not supposed to be in the classroom, but what the heck am I supposed to be doing? And so there were a couple years where I was like very confused and conflicted of, I know I'm not supposed to be here, but where's the next point? And so it was a very windy, like, what's happening here? Along that point, I discovered essential oils and became very involved with that. And a friend of mine reached out and said, hey, I'm doing this training, learning how to do this ancestral healing, and it involves the oils and all this stuff. Can I practice on you? And I was like, of course. Hello. Like, I would love that. So she did this session on me and it was amazing. So at the time I had like, not, oversharing here probably, but I had 4 or 5 periods back after having my youngest, and they were horrible, like crying on the couch, calling my mom saying, how old were you when you went through menopause? Because like trying to like do the math of how much more I would have to go through this.
Wow.
And so during the session, we worked on that issue. And ever since, like, I barely noticed that my period is there. So I was like, wow, this is amazing, but didn't really think too much of it after that. And then the whole mediumship thing opened up, and I was giving a reading to a friend, and she said, my grandma had this back pain and I have this back pain. Do you think it's related? And instantly Jem popped into my head, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, not only is it related, but you need a Jem session. And in that moment, I was like, I need to become certified in Jem, which is the ancestral healing, because that way, like, having a session where you're connecting with your loved ones is very healing. It can bring closure, it can bring a lot of peace. But with Jem, not only are you healing the person sitting in front of you, but you are healing all of the people that have been affected in their family by all of these emotions that are causing issues in your life. And so in that moment, I was like, that's it, I'm getting certified. And that's kind of how I came to be with the whole ancestral healing thing.
Okay, it is very fascinating. It's beyond fascinating to me, especially for 2 reasons. Number one, it's like anytime someone comes to you and offers you a free session, it seems to be exactly the next level of your work.
Yeah.
Which, that's the way spirit works. So I really like that. And then I find it really fascinating. Like, so let's talk about ancestral healing.
Mm-hmm.
How is it and why is it important that we heal ourselves and that somehow it can heal our ancestors? Like, what is that really about?
Yeah.
Does it heal them in real time in their life? Could we say that maybe your great grandmother's period is now resolved in that other timeline? You understand, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I love about Jem is that it's not just like an energy thing that somebody, it came up with. The woman who created Jem, her name is Joyce Turkington. She's amazing. But what happened was there's also a scientific base to this. So she started doing a lot of research on Dr. Bruce Lipton's work with epigenetics. And what epigenetics tells us is that we are not a slave to our genes. So what happens is, a lot of times people will think, oh, everybody in my family had cancer. That means that I'm going to get cancer and there's nothing that I can do about it. But according to epigenetics, we can determine which genes express themselves and don't express themselves based partly on our environment. So things like our nutrition, our toxin exposure, like, the cleaning products that we use, and, the type of water that we drink, if we were drinking fluoridated water versus filtered water, that kind of thing. But the main factor is our beliefs. So our beliefs determine what expresses in our body. And our beliefs stem from our emotions. So what happens is we have emotions that, we feel a certain way about something that then causes a belief to occur in our life. And the belief then, helps determine how our life is going to go, how our body is going to express itself, all of that. And so the ancestral piece to this that takes it a step further than the epigenetics is that when we experience emotions that that we don't process through all the way, if we have a trauma in our life or, something like that, and we don't process through those emotions and work through them, they actually become embedded not only into our energetic field, but into our DNA. And they get passed down generationally and show up in, future generations' lives in different ways until somebody is able to clear it. And so there was actually a study done, I believe it was at Emory University, maybe somewhere down south. And what happened was they took a mouse and put him in a box with cherry blossoms. And they picked up the box and they shook it. And they did this, several times over the course of a week or two. And then a few days later, they had the mouse reproduce. And they found that the offspring of this mouse for multiple generations, not just its direct children, were not only afraid of the scent of cherry blossoms, even though they had never been in the box shaken by themselves, but also they had more cherry blossom scent receptors in their noses and in their brains. So this just shows that when one person experiences a trauma, or in this case, a mouse, it not only has an emotional effect on their descendants, but also physiological effects. So what we do in the generational emotional mapping, or GEM as we call it, is that we identify the emotions that are stuck in your energetic field and clear them. And that way your energy is able to realign and your body is able to heal itself, because the body is designed to heal itself. The reason that people are sick or in chronic pain or, have things like anxiety or depression, things like that, where they're like, I don't know where this came from. I don't have a specific trigger. All of a sudden, I'm just having a panic attack or something like that. It's because those emotions aren't yours. Those emotions were passed down to you from previous generations, and they're just stuck there. So that, that's not to say that we don't have our own traumas in our own lives, because of course, we're here having a human experience, stuff is going to happen. But so much is passed down from previous generations that's just stuck in our field and affecting our genes.
Okay, so you've really caught my attention, Meredith, for a lot of reasons, and I now know why I'm interviewing you. Okay, guys, this is for everyone, though. So I want to share something with you. My grandmother, oh my God, it does go back, but I want to know how you would heal this if I was to come to you and if this is the kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back a long time ago. My grandmother was severely depressed and had a lot of trauma and underwent in those days, they did that electric shock.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it got into her brain, I guess. My mother used to have the same nightmares my grandmother did. And then my mother went one step further. She became terrified of driving. Panic attacks on bridges, freeways, anything that wasn't a little local side street. Okay. I mean, panic attacks. So she literally almost stopped driving. Fast forward to a few years ago, and I started to have complete panic attacks when I drive.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Meredith, so bad that I want to pull over and stop in the middle of the road if I could. Thank God my rational mind doesn't let that happen. I'm afraid that I'm going to fall off the side of the mountain. I've never fallen off the road. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
But I become terrified, and even bridges. I mean, and it's like being in a nightmare that I can't talk myself out of. And I know my mother had the exact same thing. So I've been walking around going, how do I heal something like this? Which I think I might have gotten from my mother and my grandmother. And I'm sure that there's people out here listening. And if you have situations like this, guys, put it in. Let's, kind of see if this is the kind of thing that we can work with. I don't want you to do it right here online, but I would want to know how you could help that. And, it's crazy. It's debilitating,
absolutely.
okay?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually worked with somebody who had a fear of driving over bridges. So yeah, it's very real. And I mean, the fact that it was passed down, you never had, like you said, a traumatic driving experience. But these things get passed down, and when it's not your trauma, it can feel like, oh my gosh, this is coming out of nowhere. What's happening? But yeah, so what we do is I use energy testing and figure out like where the root of the issue started. And then, so this involves essential oils. So I don't know how familiar you are with essential oils. And
I am familiar. I love essential oils, and I always want to know more about using them.
Okay, great. Well, so, obviously they have their physical uses, like, peppermint is great for digestion, and, lavender for headaches and stress reduction, that kind of thing. But they also have emotional and spiritual properties to them as well. And so what we do is I have a whole book of, I use doTERRA essential oils for this process. So we have all the oils, and there are emotions that are attached to each oil, and an affirmation that goes with each oil. And so what we do is I energy test to see which oil you need, and then which of those emotions are stuck in your energy field. And we figure out how far back those emotions go. So, I mean, sometimes it's, 2 generations back on your mom's side, but sometimes it's like 7 or 8 generations back, which when you think about it, like that's a lot of people that are affected, because each generation you go back, you're doubling the number of people. So, we're getting into like hundreds, if not, close to 1,000 people that could be affected here. And, time-wise, depending on when it is, like, I think we're probably going back into like late 1700s or so sometimes. And so we figure out how far back the emotions go, and then which chakra to apply the oil to. So if you're with me in person, we put the oil on. If you have your own oils, if we're doing this virtually, then, you can put the oil on yourself. If you don't have the oils, it's totally fine. We just set the intention that you do. And then you put your hands on whatever chakra we're working with and close your eyes. And I say what I like to refer to as the magic words. And I started calling it that for my kids. And I was like, oh, I like that. We're just going to call them the magic words. And
what are the magic words? Wait, what are the magic words?
So, oh gosh, now you're putting me on the spot, and I'm going to blank on.
It'll come back.
Yes. But basically it's asking that the affirmation of whatever oil we're using, and then we state the affirmation for that oil. Wait, hang on. I would ask that the affirmation of such and such oil, which states blah, 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 insert the affirmation, would be charged into your energy field with whom it started and when and where it started, bringing it forward through all generations of time. Oh my gosh. With the original power and authority to renew the energy field, set and run. So we, go through, and what happens is the positive energy of the affirmation is then infused into your energy field, which then neutralizes the negative emotions that were stuck there and allows them to clear. And then your energy field can realign and your body can heal.
I'm just blown away that that you can do that. And then, so now, does that also heal the generation going forward, like my daughter, say?
Yeah.
So it's almost mandatory to clear our field then if we have children, if we don't want our children to get all of our own fears.
Exactly. I mean, so Joyce, the woman who created Gem, said that she was working on herself, working on, I think she was clearing a sugar addiction. And she said her son called her one day and said, Mom, have you been messing with me? And she was like, No, I've just been working on myself. What are you talking about? And he said, Well, I went out to the bar with my buddies and my beer tasted like crap. And like, I couldn't even finish it. And she said that like a couple weeks later, he came forward and said, you know what, I've really been having a problem with alcohol lately. And because of the work that she was doing, all of a sudden he had zero interest in drinking anymore. I think she said he lost like 100 pounds in the next year. And like, I mean, he just doesn't drink anymore.
But that's because she changed. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, because this is
Yep.
to all the mothers out there, this is really important.
Yeah.
You're saying that if we can, so even if what about if we don't know the trauma? Let's just say we want to generally make the environment great for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Would you just do this do this healing then, like mother and father do it in general to allow healing for our kids?
Yeah. So typically we have like an issue that we're working on. So it could be something physical, it could be a limiting belief, it could be anxiety, or whatever it is. So my favorite story is my husband didn't cry. And so he, sorry, honey, if you're watching this, I'm spilling the beans on you. But
your husband didn't cry? Okay.
So he didn't cry. Like, we had been together, I guess, like 20 years at the time that I got into Gem and started doing this. And we found a story that he had written in like the 5th grade that said the entire family cried except the dad. And so, I mean, like, he had this belief that men don't cry, right?
Right.
This is not healthy. Like, you need to be able to release your emotions and, all of that. And we did a Gem session and he cries all the time now. I mean, he cried reading Harry Potter to my kids. Like just whatever it is, he's able to release that now.
His emotions.
And I mean, what a blessing, we have 3 boys. What a blessing to my boys to be able to see him cry and know that that's okay and that it's safe to express your emotions like that. Because I mean, there's so many men and boys in the world who are taught men don't cry, boys don't cry. There's no crying in baseball, So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. No, and it's true. We're all taught certain things, and those limits end up restricting our present and our future. Mm-hmm. So this is extremely empowering. Now, my next question is now, are you still acting as a medium? Do you do those 2 things together? Like, let's say I went and had a session and talked to my mother and said, look, Mom, we're getting over this. Or like, do you do inter like things like that as well?
Yeah. So I'm not really doing readings anymore, just because I put a lot of pressure on myself to, make sure that I'm getting accurate information. And so it's more of a stressful situation for me to do just a reading.
Right.
But if we're doing a Gem session and somebody comes through, then I'll deliver the message. So I just don't like to put the pressure on it.
Listen, I do readings and I get it. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to sort of see, hear, and know. So I totally get that. What was I going to say? But okay, do they like to come through during these sessions? Like to heal this kind of karmic energy?
Yeah. I mean, I will see like groups of like hundreds of people above the person and just with like a rope or a chain, like holding them back. Like they're all kind of like trying to lean forward and it won't break. And then by the end of the session, they've like busted through. And I mean, they express so much gratitude and love for the person for doing the work. I mean, I always say like, yes, I'm an ancestral healer, but like everybody heals themselves. I'm not the one actually healing you. I'm helping you facilitate the process, but you're the one healing yourself and you're the one healing your family.
Wow.
So I think there's a big stigma in the spiritual world of like, oh, well, I'm a healer. Like, no, like I'm just helping you release something that you didn't know how to release on your own. But yeah, I mean, there's so much gratitude. I had one where the person I was working with was pregnant, and I was working with her and her husband was there, but the baby came through, and delivered a message to the dad during the session. So that was really neat. I mean, spirit, they're all up there. It doesn't have to be somebody who passed away that comes through. So,
well,
yeah.
So they want you to be healed as much as we want to be healed. And now we have a new element that I didn't think about, that by healing ourselves, we can heal the generations that come with that we produce, which I think is even a more powerful incentive to get this healing done. Certainly don't want my daughter to have this when she gets older,
Right.
So really a lot of motivation, everyone. So you have a book, and I want to show everyone your book, and I put the links in, but let's share the screen and maybe talk a little bit about your book.
Right. Yeah.
What motivated you to write it and what we need to know about it. Let's see if it's showing up. Yes, it is. Okay.
So I'm actually a co-author in the book. So I like to describe it as a spiritual chicken soup for the soul. So I used to be obsessed with those books when I was in high school, and I would, keep it next to my bed every night and, read a couple chapters before bed. And, it's just a feel good kind of thing where you just get short little blurbs. And, so that's kind of what this is, except each chapter was written by a different healer. And so it's kind of like a healer's directory in a sense, because everybody's talking about what they do. They talk about their journey and how they got to where they are, but also about their healing modality. And at the end of each chapter, there's a link. So if you read something and you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to work with that person, there's a way for you to get in contact with them. So
I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Because, everybody resonates with something different. So, what works for me might not work for you, but would work for this other person. So it's a really great way to reach a wide audience and say, hey, we're all on this healing journey together. I think we're really at this point in time right now, like I said earlier, our ancestors weren't in a place where they were able to heal. It was, life is hard for everybody, suck it up and move on. And so everybody was taught to stuff their emotions down, don't deal with them, hide them, and then it all gets, buried inside of us. And I feel like we're at a point in time right now where we're meant to heal it all. And so, if Gem resonates with you, I would be thrilled to work with you. But if it doesn't, that's okay. There are other ways to heal. There's no one right way to do it. So I love that this gives a broad spectrum of different opportunities for people. Because, I truly believe when we heal ourselves, we heal the world. When we're doing Gem, and it's not just healing us, it's healing our entire family. Think about how many thousands of souls that could be affecting, and, going forward into the future. And really, when you think about it, we're all connected. We're all one. So as we heal ourselves, it truly helps heal somebody else, because they're us and we're them. So
No, you're absolutely right. I was at the International Association of Near-Death Studies a few weekends ago. Neil and I were live streaming it.
Oh, wow.
It was so powerful, but one of the most profound was that everyone who'd had this experience talks about oneness consciousness, that actually they experience themselves as an individual within this collective, like being a cell in the water, you know.
Mhm.
But it was, I'm unique, but I'm part of the all. One woman came back and said, I could never kill a bug again. So, you know, that's huge to think, okay, I could never kill a bug again, because if we're going to kill anything, it would be that little ant that was in my sink this morning. And I heard that voice that said, I can never kill a bug again,
Yeah.
because that means we're all this oneness consciousness. So what you're saying is that not only so much of the lineage needs healing. The world is in a mess. You know, peace
Yeah.
is an elusive thing. Health, wellness, happiness, prosperity is really elusive on the planet. And what I'm hearing in my consciousness as I'm resonating with you is that if we heal our own selves, if we allow this complete healing to go back a few generations, we can bring it forward. And so that our children, you know, and your children and everyone's children have patterns now of peace and love and health and healing. So can we do this for the entire planet, like in one fell swoop?
So the way that we do it on a more like global level is what we call blessing words. And so it's a similar process, but the way Joyce taught me to do it was, I have a book called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die by Carol Truman. And in the book, there is a whole list of like negative feelings and their positive counterparts. Right. And so what I do is I take, you know, an election or a, you know, global health issue, or, you know, whatever it is. And I go through and muscle test or energy test the words in the book and say, okay, this word is coming up. What are the positive words that we need instead? And so I write it all down. And then once I have my whole list collected, we say, okay, you know, universe, thank you for infusing the positive energy of these words. And I go through and read all of the positive words into the energy field of XYZ issue, and for allowing the issue to resolve, or, you know, whatever comes through at the moment. And so, you know, that's a powerful way to try and, you know, clear the negative from an issue that's larger than a single person.
I think that's amazing. I am so glad you shared that, so that we can, you know, think about that. And I do a lot of work with miracles on that level. So I find it really exciting. Yeah. All right, Meredith, this has been fantastic. Any final words? Any last minute, any other messages? I put up here where people can find you. They can buy your book. I put the link for your book, Energy Healing and Soul Medicine. If they want to book an appointment, they could go to your website, soulfilledwellness.com.
Yes.
But any last minute message for everyone before we say goodbye?
You know, I think just embrace that healing process. It's not necessarily going to be easy or pretty. You know, we think about healing with rainbows and butterflies and hearts, but it can be a messy process. And, you know, we have to release those negative emotions and feelings in order to come out the other side. You know, it might feel like a dark night of the soul or whatever it is, but just know that you're going to get through it and come out on the other side, you know, so much better and have such an impact on the world. The other thing that I do want to mention is I am actually working on another book. I'm hoping it's going to come out in October, called The Aligned Teacher. So I mentioned I have a background in teaching, and my husband is a teacher, and I've just noticed all of the stress that teachers have right now in the world, you know, all over. It was a stressful job before COVID, and now, you know, post-COVID, it's crazy, and teachers are leaving the profession left and right. And so what this book is a quick, you know, mini guide to different ways that teachers can align their energy. It's like anybody would benefit from these, but I'm just gearing this specifically to teachers. But there are energy exercises to help realign your energy. I talk about things like essential oils, grounding, meditation, just all these little things that you can do, because when you're in the classroom and feeling stressed out and the kids are crazy and your principal's breathing down your neck or whatever it is, it can be extremely stressful and, make it really difficult for you not only to do what you need to do in the classroom, but to come home and live your life in joy and be with your family and, do all the other things. And so my hope is that this, you'll be able to find one or two things out of, my list of 20 that resonate with you and help you feel better. So keep an eye out for that. It's called the Aligned Teacher. If you have teachers in your life or, you have kids who go to school or whatever, please let them know about it.
Can they sign up on your website and get on your email list?
I will hopefully have that up soon. So it's not up there yet, but
okay.
But yes,
right,
there will
guys,
definitely be information on my website about it.
You're going to have to keep checking back with her.
Yes.
And until October, it's not that long until your book is coming out.
Yes.
So we're going to look forward to it. I have so loved having you, Meredith. I'm just so grateful that this has worked out and that you shared this information. It seems to me that I need, it's just very powerful. By the way, my father's death, the anniversary happens to be tomorrow.
Oh my God.
I saw that it flashed and then we had our talk and I went, oh my God, there's messages here for me. And I would be willing to say he's probably saying, Joan.
I'm getting goosebumps right now, so I can confirm that for you.
I am too. Thank you so much, beautiful one. You are an angel in a physical human form. We love what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
The world is such a better place because of it. All right, guys, was she wonderful or not? And I know I got down and personal, but listen, let's face it, just people do have anxiety and stress. And because of that, I was able to get that. I need to heal that with my family ancestral, so that my children don't need to experience what I did. So wow and profound. We love Meredith. Please check her out. Meanwhile, guys, if you're listening to this in the future or now, if you're new to the channels, please like, subscribe, and share. You could be on Portal to Ascension, New Realities, or Joan of Angels, but please love our channel and share it out. And I am an intuitive guide, guys, so check me out at joanofangels.com. And again, check out some of the new upcoming conferences, and especially we want to see you at the in-person live conference in San Diego. So have a great week until we come back again next time. Bye for now.